Welcome, everyone, to the One More Game podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Culver, a.k.a. Darcy, and thank you so much for tuning in here to the One More Game podcast. It has been nearly 2 years since the last recording of the One More Game podcast. It was April 15th, 2023, when I last did an episode of the One More Game podcast, which is absolutely insane that it took this long to make something happen for me to get back into it. There's been a lot of things that have happened over the years. Unfortunately, as you can tell right now, my co-host, Pete Leisha, the California Thirst Quencher, is not doing the podcast anymore, which is totally fine. We, of course, send all our well wishes to Pete and what he is doing now. Just wanted to take a break from the podcast, and of course that's kind of some of the things that led to the long break from the One More Game podcast. Of course, also, as many know, I had started a new job around that time in 2022, and so there was of course getting adjusted to the new job, the moving, all that jazz that just kind of culminated into taking a break that ended up being much longer than anticipated. But of course, we are back here for the first episode of the One More Game podcast in 2025. Screw 2024. We're here for 2025. And of course, again, nearly 2 years later, it takes the Nintendo Direct, the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct in specific, to bring me back out of the coffin like The Undertaker, rising out from the dead, and we are back here for another episode of the One More Game podcast. The One More Game podcast going forward from here is going to be very different from what it used to be. So, of course, in the past, I had a co-host that would be joining me for the One More Game podcast. As of right now, we do not have a co-host, and I will be honest, I'm not really searching for a co-host at this point. I would love to get another co-host. Don't get me wrong. That would be very great to have. But I'm not actively searching for one. I am completely fine with doing some episodes and the podcast kind of moving forward for the foreseeable future as a solo podcast. And if we get a co-host, awesome. We'll bring them along. We'll move things along, and we'll have a grand old time. But I'm going to be moving things forward right now as a solo podcast, which is going to also allow opportunities like it was in the past where I can bring on special guests. I could bring in on subjects for interviews, various things like that. So that's kind of the two main things I'll say, honestly, special guests as well as bringing on people to do interviews with. But that is kind of the two main things that it's going to allow me to do that I am actually going to also search out to do. I'm also going to now be freed up to kind of do podcasts a little different in the fact of I'm kind of going to do some podcasts that are talking about video game news and topics. I'm also going to be doing podcasts that more still video games, but are going to be just things I think about, things that I wanted to talk about and discuss. We've done some of those episodes in the past, but now I'm going to have a little bit more freedom to do some of those things as well. So hopefully you guys enjoy the podcast that is coming to you guys here for the foreseeable future and continue to come back. I know that we have some people, of course, joining me live over on youtube.com/@pressstart28. as well as twitch.tv/Darcy28. Let me correct that because not the YouTube. YouTube is youtube.com/@pressstart28. And Twitch is twitch.tv/Darcy28. Just like Kairu Gaming and Orbital Tangent in the chat, thank you so much for joining me here on the first episode back. It's been a while, but we do those recordings live. I'll be sharing news about when we'll record them, of course, on our socials. So you can find those in various places. If you're on the podcast listings over on Spotify and Apple, you'll find those in the descriptions. If you are on YouTube, just go check the descriptions. If you are on Twitch, check the panels down below, and you'll be able to see, of course, links to our various socials. There's going to be some noises in the back because my dog is hanging out with me here for the podcast. So if you hear some noises, say hello to Zyra. She is, joining me for the time right now. She's already kind of seeming like she wants to get out of the room here. So, of course, we'll see how long she actually wants to stick around. But that is kind of some of the things that are news for the podcast and what's been going on. Normally, I would start the podcast off talking about what we've been playing lately. And, of course, I'm going to be the one that kind of shares that for this time being. So what have I been playing lately? Well, I've actually been playing quite a lot of games. I have been playing some Elden Ring, of course, here on the podcast. I have been, not on the podcast, on the streams here. Just trying to deal with Zyra here for a second. But, of course, I've been playing Elden Ring here on stream so that you can come check that out if you want to. See me suffer and lose. I think right now I am up to, let me just check real quick, 47 deaths to Margit the Fell Omen. Margit has really whooped my butt over and over here. So you, of course, can come join and see how things go when that stream continues. I've also been playing some Dynasty Warriors Origins, having a lot of fun with that. That is a game from Koei Tecmo, which we will talk a little bit here in a bit about here on the Nintendo Switch. But a fantastic game, a revamping of the Dynasty Warriors series. And if you've never checked out Dynasty Warriors, totally recommend going and checking it out. They're a ton of fun, a lot of action combat. It can get a little repetitive, totally won't lie, but when you are destroying thousands of enemies on screen and feeling like the ultimate badass, it feels good. It feels great. So definitely recommend checking it out. And again, I will recommend checking it out because with this one, Dynasty Warriors Origins, there were changes that were made to the game that make it feel fresh and brand new. So highly recommend checking that out. And then, of course, like many people currently, I'm playing Monster Hunter Wilds. Monster Hunter Wilds is a fantastic game from Capcom, another entry into the Monster Hunter series, and Wilds delivering on all the goods. We are getting some new title update, a free title update here on Thursday and Friday. I think it's Thursday for sure, but I can't remember if it's depending on time zones, if it's Friday or Thursday here when it comes to the whether it's here in the United States or in Japan, but it's a fantastic game. Totally recommend it. Very much going to be a grind for some, but I think that it delivers on everything that you want when it comes to these type of games. A lot of great action, big monster fights, a lot of skills to kind of use, materials to gather, crafting new materials, making the best weapons. It delivers on all fronts. So Monster Hunter Wilds is another one. So those are kind of the three that I've been playing lately. Hopefully you guys are enjoying those. And if you haven't, let me know what you've been playing lately in the comments or here, of course, in the chat. We'll call those out. I know Kairu Gaming has been playing some Monster Hunter Wilds himself because Kairu is one of my friends that we've talked about here on the podcast before. And I've kind of taken him under my wing when it comes to Monster Hunter, bringing him into the Monster Hunter realm. And, of course, he's having a lot of fun with that. But with that being said, thank you everybody for joining me here on the One More Game podcast. This is a podcast that is centered around making sure you're informed about the video game news that is happening around the world. Whether it is PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, or PC, we'll make sure if there's news that you need to know about, we'll make sure that you know about it. When you're listening to this on your podcast services, make sure you hit the 5-star review if your podcast allows reviews, or leave a comment telling people why you love the One More Game podcast, because we really enjoy bringing this to you, or I should say I really enjoy bringing this to you each and every time that I do so. We're planning to get back to once a week. We'll see how that goes, but right now, every time I bring it to you, I absolutely love doing this. And then, of course, I have to say from there, if this is your first time to the podcast, welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy your listen, and I hope you enjoy your stay. But if you are returning, you already know what it is. We start off every podcast talking about what we've been playing lately. I've already told you that, so let's get straight into the main topic at hand, and that is the Switch 2 Direct. The Switch 2 Direct took place earlier this morning here on Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025, taking place at 8 a.m. here Central Time for us here in the Midwest. And it was about an hour long. I think total runtime after everything was said and done, it was about an hour and 2 minutes, but about an hour talking about everything when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 for you to know about. Now, the one thing, we'll talk about it here very quickly. The one thing that they didn't do in the showcase was reveal the pricing for the Nintendo Switch 2, which was a little bothering. I will fully admit I was not totally surprised by it, because I know that right now in the political climate that is the United States, there are tariffs that are being thrown around. I think if I remember correctly, some tariffs were signed into law or whatever you want to call them today. But there was tariffs that were going around. So I kind of figured maybe they were trying to decide how those were going to be impacted. So maybe they didn't want to put it in the video, because you know that video is already recorded. But it was surprising that they didn't actually like throw it in last minute as like a title card or anything. So we had to end up finding out later after the Direct took place and got the pricing there. So let's start with the pricing first. First and foremost, let's start with the pricing, because I think that that is what, of course, most people are looking forward to. What am I going to be spending when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2? So we'll talk about the launch day as well as that price. And of course, that launch day is June 5th, 2025, and it is going to retail, the standard edition, I should say, the regular, just the Switch 2, at $449.99. So $450 basically. Now that's going to get you the Nintendo Switch 2 console, the Joy-Cons, of course, the left and the right Joy-Cons, Joy-Con grips, Joy-Con 2 straps, the Nintendo Switch 2 dock, an ultra high-speed HDMI cable, a Nintendo Switch 2 AC adapter, and then a USB-C charging cable, all coming for $449.99, and again, coming out on June 5th. Now, if you want a game with it, there is a version that is coming out with a brand new Mario Kart. Of course, the Mario Kart was teased back in February when they first hinted or revealed that they were going to talk about the Switch 2 of this year. We finally got a look at that. We'll talk about that more in depth here in a second, but that bundle comes with the Mario Kart World, which is the name of that game, and it's going to come out for $499.99. So $50 more, or $40 more, no, $50 more. And you're going to get Mario Kart World with the rest of the Nintendo Switch 2 items. Now, that is roughly around what I thought. It is definitely more than what I thought. I did post prior to the Switch 2 Direct that I thought it would be coming out for $399, and I thought it would come out on June 19th. So I was pretty close on both, but still far enough off that you could say that, you know, close only works in horseshoes and hand grenades. So it was close, but it was not close enough. So $450, as well as, again, coming out on June 5th. I'm not upset by those prices. The way things are now with technology, how things are advancing, how much it costs to make these kinds of things. Yes, the console and publishers of these consoles, so Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, they don't want to lose money on the consoles as much as they used to. Of course, they make most of their money on software, but they're trying to, you know, I guess, stop the hemorrhaging on consoles as much as possible. So I kind of figured we'd see an increase. A little surprised by the $450 mark, just because it feels like a weird price. But again, not totally surprised. I also wonder how much this pricing adjusted and changed because, again, of the tariffs and how things work, because again, this is a product that will not be manufactured and done here in the United States. It's going to be coming in as an export or an import, I should say. So that is going to be subject to the taxes of the tariffs. So I wonder how much that plays into a factor, but $450, not a bad price, not exactly where I would have loved to have it, but right around where I kind of thought. Again, I thought $399. Looks like Kairu in the chat said that he thought it was going to be $450. Totally makes sense. And again, you're going to get a lot of these things that are necessary for the Switch 2 to really get the most advantage of it. Now, it's important to note, we'll talk about it here again in a little bit, the Nintendo Switch 1 dock will not work with the Nintendo Switch 2. That is not compatible. So you are going to have to get the Nintendo Switch 2 dock. However, the 2 dock has some really nice features that are going to, of course, make you want to have that dock for the Switch 2 anyway. So, you're going to have to get that dock. It's really cool that we're getting a USB-C charging cable. I say really cool. Obviously, it's not like the most fanciest things, but it's better than getting a USB-A to C charging cable. So get a little bit more signal speed, things from that nature that's going to help with charging your various items and stuff. And of course, yeah, that's just the basic pricing. Also want to kind of point out a little bit about one of the main things here. So let's transition now into some of the games that got announced, the things that got announced during the Direct. And one of them, of course, I just mentioned was, of course, Mario Kart World. So Mario Kart World got announced. We got a good long look at it. It is a launch title for the game, obviously, why it's going bundled with it. So it is also coming out on June 5th. And it seems fantastic. There's going to have 24 drivers on the course, which is crazy. I believe, if I was remembering correctly, I think chat told me during the live stream reaction that I was correct. In the past, there was always 12. So going to 24 means more racers on the courses, which is really cool, especially when you connect online. That means there's going to be even more people connecting to do these races. There's also like a free roam, like open world type of driving experience that you can do. You can also do that with friends, which seems really cool. They showed off like being able to, chart uncharted waters and roads, and then of course be able to like take photos with friends and stuff. So I wonder how much that experience is going to feel satisfactory, and then I wonder how easily, if you're doing that with friends, you can transition into a race. Like, can you just like drive around, look at things, explore, then immediately kind of find like a point on the map that is like this starting point of a race, and then like go over there, hit A on the controller, and that kind of cues you up for that race, and you start to go. They didn't show off that, but of course we did get to see a couple of new modes. So they showed off a knockout tour, which is kind of like a battle royale. So you'll do some races, and if you aren't above a certain point in the race, you will be eliminated for the preceding race. So that's kind of cool. Obviously, fun elimination battle royale type style thing. I played a game on stream, I want to say about a year ago now. Maybe it was a year and a half ago. That's kind of was their shtick. It was like a battle royale kart racer, and so it was kind of like heart pounding as you were like at the near point of getting eliminated to get to that point of being able to continue going on. So it won't have as many racers as that kart racing did. So I wonder how many consecutive races it will be. And I also wonder, because of how many consecutive races, how many people get eliminated per race. But sounds like fun. Sounds like an easy way to get some bragging rights, even more bragging rights against your friends. We'll see how that all goes. But everything seemed fantastic with the Mario Kart World. And then the one holdback, and I have thoughts about it, the one holdback is the price. Mario Kart World got announced on Nintendo's website after the fact that it is going to retail the digital version for $79.99, $80. And if you get the physical version, tack on an extra $10. It is $90 to pick up the game. I have a couple of thoughts on that. So let's dive into it now. The first thought that I have is that I truly believe, as I mentioned about tariffs earlier, this is being priced with tariffs in mind. Most of these games, I found out because of the original threats of tariffs. There is a games industry analyst who is fantastic. Totally recommend people check out, called Matt Piscatella. He posts on various socials, mostly on Blue Sky at this point in time. But Matt Piscatella does analysis on the industry, and he talked about when the first tariffs were getting talked about, is that most physical games are produced in Mexico. And Mexico is one of those countries that is getting tariffed at 25%. So, of course, when any game gets produced there, then comes into the U.S., it's going to be hit by that tariff. So that's going to cut into any kind of margins that a company is trying to bring in. And I know that we are slowly pushing more and more to the digital age, so maybe I am off base here, but I just kind of have a feeling that Mario Kart being at $80, $10 more than PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series games, as well as $20 more than most Nintendo Switch 1 games. Tears of the Kingdom, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom did retail at $70, so it's $10 more than that. But most of their other games have been $60. I think that it's, again, with the tariffs in mind, to make sure that they get the margins they're looking for. On top of that, I do think that they're trying to push people to buy the bundle so that Mario Kart World sells really well on top of that. Like, sells really, really well. And I think that with the physical edition, if they did not price it, or I shouldn't say if they did not price it, if they did not price the digital edition close enough to the physical edition where people would be considering back and forth which one, then of course it would just push all digital, and then they would lose out on any money of producing the physical. So that's kind of why it, but that digital bundle, I think, is what's going to push it. Now, there are discussions and rumors that I did read online. I did my best to try to avoid any online discussions heading into this. But one of the things I did see is that there are talks that the bundle, the Mario Kart bundle, is going to be in limited supply at launch, that they're not going to have a lot of those bundles heading into to the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2. So I don't know if that one is entirely accurate, if that is the case, because if they're going to limit the amount of the Nintendo, the bundle with Mario Kart World, then it doesn't make sense on why they would give that $30 discount on the bundle and then in an effort to drive people to that bundle. I kind of feel like that would be kind of like, here's option one, and if you really don't like Mario Kart, here's an option for you. Like, I feel like they would put more bulk into that bundle. So I don't know how much I fully believe either they're going to have limited stock or that Nintendo is trying to push into it. Like, it's one of the two. It's one of the two. I don't know which one I believe more. I personally would understand if they did that, pushing towards the Mario Kart bundle so that the Mario Kart bundle pushes out more copies, because of course that's great for marketing if they can kind of be like, hey, Mario Kart World is doing extremely well. Because again, for those that don't know, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, well, Mario Kart 8 in general, that is the best selling Nintendo game of all time. It sold so many copies now, and that's just, I believe, the way that they've been doing the metrics, that's just off the Switch. Not even the Switch or the Wii U, because, of course, Mario Kart 8 originally released on the Wii U. I'm checking this real quick. Nintendo best-selling games of all time. And let's see here. Yeah, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, just Deluxe, has sold 67.34 million copies. Like, that's absolutely insane. The next highest is Animal Crossing New Horizons at 47.44 million, which spoiler alert, was not even here. There was no Animal Crossing at the Nintendo Switch Direct, which if you had asked me before the Nintendo Switch Direct went, I said Animal Crossing has to be here. Like in some form or fashion, even if it was, hey, Animal Crossing runs better, the Animal Crossing New Horizons runs better on Nintendo Switch 2. So like put your copy in, it'll run even better. They didn't even do that. So I was really surprised by that. But Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, best-selling Nintendo game of all time. I think you're going to have a very hard time hitting that. But I do think if they're trying to do the mindset that I was talking about, bundling, pushing people towards the Mario Kart World Bundle, having that bundle, driving people to it at the beginning is a great incentive to get those sales up and move, not just move consoles, but move copies of that game. So again, we'll see how that goes. I'm going kind of out of order. I should have written notes as I watched along earlier today, but it was early in the morning. I forgot. So we're kind of jumping around. I'm going to skip some things. I'm using IGN's everything announced at the Nintendo Direct 2, Nintendo Switch 2 Direct article to kind of move from there. But so I'm skipping around a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about, of course, the expanded games. So, of course, many kind of figured that, including myself, that there was going to be something that tried to incentivize people who had a Nintendo Switch to upgrade to the Switch 2 at launch, knowing that obviously the Switch 1 has sold so many copies. It is currently the second best-selling console of all time, that there had to be a big drive. And because the Switch 2 is going to basically be, as an overview, kind of everything that the Switch 1 was, just better, that doesn't necessarily work. So you got to figure out what's that next incentive. So they revealed that, yes, you have your Nintendo Switch games that will work on the Switch 2. However, there are going to be Switch expanded games or Nintendo Switch editions of these games. They named off a number of them, and we're going to kind of talk about those here. But some of those, of course, is Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom get a Switch 2 edition of the game. If you already own these games, you can just pay for the upgrade and then get those upgrades, or if you've never bought them before, you can just buy them at the store as an all-in-one bundle. There's also going to be Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which of course is the upcoming Metroid Prime game. That is going to have a Switch 2 edition. They still did not give a release date on Metroid Prime Beyond, so it is a cross-gen game. You can play it on, you can buy it, and it's a game on Switch, but you get enhancements if you buy the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, or at least upgrade towards that edition. Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, you got one there. You get a new story expansion with it called Starcross World. That is the upgrade on that one. That one's going to be arriving on August 28th, so it's not there right away when it releases, but it is going to be coming at a later time. Super Mario Party Jamboree is getting an expanded version. They're calling it Jamboree TV. It's going to have new party games. It's going to take advantage of things on the Switch 2. They're also going to take advantage of a webcam, which I'll get to here in a second. So that's really interesting. I don't know how much that's going to work, or how much those games then become pointless because you don't have a webcam, but that's neither here nor there. Pokemon Legends ZA, or ZA, as I always call it, Pokemon Legends ZA. That's one's getting a Switch 2 edition as well, getting better frame rate, better resolution, so hopefully that'll be really nice. And then going back to the other ones, just because I talked about them, but I didn't actually expand on it. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they are getting those additions. They're going to get smoother frame rate, faster loading time, better graphics. They're also going to be able to work with the new Zelda Notes app that's going to be on the Nintendo Switch Online app. I'm not a huge fan of that. I kind of said it during my live stream. I wish Nintendo would just put all their apps into one, but they didn't. They put it in this other app, It's an app that some people have, some people don't. I don't have it because it's kind of pointless, in my opinion. Outside of it used to be the way you could do party chat, but now you don't need that here in a little bit. I'll talk about that. But anyways, you're going to be able to use that in there. And there also seems to be, I guess, some commentary from Princess Zelda that wasn't part of the original games. So that's also there. And then, as I was talking about with Metroid Prime, you're going to get some mouse controls and then different quality modes. So you're getting a 4K 60 FPS HDR mode as well as performance mode if you get the Nintendo Switch 2 version. So looks prettier, runs better type of things. So that's the Switch Edition announcements that are really cool. Because I talked about 4K, and again, I told you I was going to jump all over the place. Let's talk a little bit about the dock, and then we'll go into some chats that are going on here, of course, in the live stream that you could always join, again, over on youtube.com/@PressStart28 or at twitch.tv/Darcy28. Again, we talked about the dock, so let's talk about that real quick. The dock is going to support 4K resolution and can play games up to 120 FPS. Now, it's important to note that does not mean 4K and 120 FPS. They are two separate things. The 4K can only go up to 60 FPS. However, the Switch dock is going to be able to do resolutions of 1080p, 1440p, and 4K. And the 1440p will have that resolution ability to get up to 120 FPS. How much that will be utilized on the Switch 2, we don't know exactly yet. Part of the issue is that the Switch 2 is using a custom CPU from NVIDIA. So until people get hands-on with it, we don't know what the exact power-to-power comparison is going to be for the Switch 2. But obviously, it's going to be boasting some considerable power over the Switch 1. One, because of the time length. The last time the Switch came out was March 2017. So we are, of course, 8 years removed from that point. So technology has improved a lot over that time. But also, just because, of course, the resolutions and things that they are throwing out at 1080p, the 1440p, the 4K, meaning that performance is definitely going to be boosted off of it. And it's also the Switch 2 has a bigger screen at 7.9 inches. I think that is almost 2 inches larger than the Switch 1, if I remember correctly. So quite a sizable look. And that screen will now be 1080p, supporting up to 120 FPS, which is also great. Going to make things seem better. I was really surprised that it wasn't an LED screen. I was not surprised it wasn't an OLED. But I really thought they would go towards, a little bit extra money, get the LED, make it look really good. But I will say, if the screen could be as nice as the screen on the PS Portal, I'm happy. I'm sold. I hope it's as crisp as the PS Portal screen. If it's not, then I'm a little unhappy with that. The Nintendo Switch 2 is also going to have, of course, the snappable Joy-Cons, or the magnetic Joy-Cons, I should say, they go into. So they no longer slide like on a rail. They snap into place. So it's kind of interesting. I was really hoping that they would kind of do some sort of, keeping the Nintendo Snap going here on stream, but they never did it. Kind of disappointed in Nintendo. But we'll see how that goes. The Joy-Cons feature a mouse control, which is kind of interesting. I was a little upset by it only because, and upset's not, I guess, the word. A little perplexed by it because I understand it. It was rumored that it was going to be there. It's there. That's great. But there's a number of things that were incorporating the mouse into gameplay. And my big thing was everything they kind of showed with the mouse movement is that it's like they thought you would be playing all the time on a desk like I'm sitting at right now. Because if you don't have a desk, then the Joy-Con or the mouse control modes don't work for you. So was a little perplexed by it. I know that some in the chat were discussing, thinking, well, maybe there's just like it's just the motion that you do and it works. But every time they showed it in the showcase, they clearly had their wrist and hand resting on some sort of a white surface. So I feel like you have to have some kind of sensor under, or some kind of surface underneath to really make it work. So I think that it does require you to be on a desk, and that's kind of where things get really weird, because how much do you lose the ability to really use those mouse modes if you're never going to be able to use it because you're never really sitting at a desk. Like if you're sitting at a couch, it's going to feel really weird to lean over and kind of use your coffee table to play on. So we'll see. But Switch 2 itself, the games are going to have a red cartridge around it instead of the gray/black that the current Switch 1 has, and it will boast a 256 gigabyte internal storage. The original Switch was a 32, so that is a sizable increase. Of course, some of that will be taken up by the OS, so do keep that in mind. You won't have the full 256. And you will need micro SD express cards, so not all micro SD cards will work on the Switch 2, but express cards are fairly cheap at this point in time, which is great. And it also has spatial 3D sound, and it has a built-in microphone. They showed it off like a guy sitting on the couch talking to the Switch and was like, yeah, it'll do it clearly. And they like even showed him like using a friend using a blender, and it's like, it'll cancel out that background noise. I doubt it. Now, that's not to say that it can't. NVIDIA has a really good like AI like noise suppression tools that are shown off all the time. A lot of streamers use it. Discord even uses something like that. But knowing that it's not a dedicated microphone like this right here, it's like it's built into the screen, and the way that it showed is like this person was definitely like 10 feet away from that. I just doubt that it's going to sound crisp and clear. Now, on the bright side, there is a headphone jack into the Switch, as well as on the new Pro Controller. So you can mitigate that by just obviously plugging in a headphone. But I do not think it's going to work the way that they said it would. Looking at the chat here real quick, we saw Brandon Lee. Brandon, thank you so much for joining here on the podcast. He is excited because he said that, of course, Mario Kart World added the best character, and that is a playable Moo. A playable cow is going to be, of course, one of the racers that you could use in Mario Kart World. And I will say I saw some amazing memes already coming out from it. Like I saw the motorcycle slide from Akira, and it was like with the cow on it, and some other really funny ones that I'm not going to repeat here on street or on the podcast, but had a field day with that. People were loving it. People were really fast, and the internet is way too fast at making memes. Let's also talk about, of course, Kairu said here, and this is kind of, I didn't talk on this, but it is important to note, is that the game data for the physical copies is not even on the physical copies. Yes, Nintendo has confirmed that basically the Switch physical copies, or the Switch 2 physical copies, will only have a download key, and the dock or the game cartridge itself basically just serves as your game key. Like you're gonna have to download it and then use it. Now it's not all. I will say, Kairu, it was kind of confirmed that not all of them are like that. Nintendo has already confirmed that it will be for some games, but not all games. But that does suck because, of course, if you don't know, I guess, like if you don't know about this, then of course you buy the game, the physical game, there's a chance you ended up, or if you got gifted it, right, you ended up getting the digital version. So like if something were to happen in the future, it's not like you could just use the game cartridge. So that is disappointing, but again, because Nintendo has come out and confirmed not all are going to be like that, I think that saves the physical games a bit more. But again, I do think that the pricing on some of these games, again, both digitally and physically, are impacted by the tariffs. And so I think Mario Kart World is that that perfect example. Because again, $90 for that game, as much as that game is going to be fantastic. I mean, it's Mario Kart. They always kill it. They always knock it out of the park. $90 is quite a bit. I saw the comments online, but I truly do wonder, what does that mean for Grand Theft Auto 6? This is giving full runway for Take-Two and Rockstar to price that game at $100 or more. I just, oh boy, what are we doing? It's not like us gamers, we chose an expensive hobby to begin with. But now it's getting even more expensive. So I've been spending a lot of time. Let's kind of rapid fire go through some of these things, and then I'll give some more of my discussions. Of course, we're doing a kind of a recap here, of everything that got announced. So there's a lot of accessories that got announced that you would expect. So, of course, there was the Pro Controller, as I mentioned earlier. They talked about, of course, like some Joy-Con accessories, a Joy-Con wheel, charging grips, straps. Obviously, the Nintendo Switch 2 dock. There's a dock set, I guess I should say, with that. You have the carrying case, the adapter, things like that. But they also, as I said, revealed a webcam, because, of course, the Switch 2 is also going to have a chat, which is great. Still perplexed why they didn't have it on the Switch 1 and decided to try to put it in an app. Their excuse was, of course, they wanted to protect the kids in a not exact words, but a paraphrased ways. And now this time they said, screw the kids. Here's your chat. But they're also, you're going to be able to show off gameplay and put yourself on your gameplay and almost do like a stream with friends. So that's where the webcam comes in. Now, it was confirmed as well is that webcam, you don't have to use this webcam. If you have a USB-C webcam, it will still work with the Switch 2. So you don't have to get this webcam. The webcam is going to retail, or at least MSRP, at $49.99. But if you have a USB-C cam, it will work. Again, Nintendo has already confirmed that. And going to Kairu real quick, yes. It looked like Discord. They never said it was, but yeah, I think most people are going to just still kind of use Discord in that realm. Of course, let's talk about some games. So we're going to talk about real quick what they finished the showcase with, which was Donkey Kong Bonanza, coming this July 17th. That looked fantastic. This is the first 3D Donkey Kong game in a while coming to Nintendo. And from what I read online, this is coming from the 3D Mario team, the team that made Mario Odyssey and Galaxy. So that puts my thought of a 3D Mario coming out this year into major doubt. If this is coming from that 3D Mario team, I very much doubt that a 3D Mario is coming out this year now. But I will say, Donkey Kong Bonanza looks freaking fantastic. I loved everything I saw about that game. The intensity of it, the particle effects that were going on, the sound design, the way that the level designs looked, the strength that freaking DK had, man, it looked amazing. And so I very much am actually very interested in this game. I probably, if you had asked me prior to the Direct, I would have told you no. I loved Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 2, but I fell off of Donkey Kong games. I fell off a lot of Nintendo games, truly. I love my Nintendo, and I love Nintendo Switch, but I like a lot of their, more JRPG and third-party stuff, or third-party partner stuff. But Donkey Kong Bonanza looks like it pulled me right back in. I'm really excited for that. So again, that comes out July 17th. Kirby Air Riders. This is, of course, the next entry in the Kirby Air Rider, or Ride, right? Ride, I think it was game. Kirby Air Ride, which was on the GameCube back in 2003. This is the secret game that Masahiro Sakurai had been working on. There had been He'd been dropping hints on his YouTube channel. He was working on a secret game, or at least on his last video he made that drop. Obviously, some people were hopeful that it was Smash. There's a chance there's still Smash coming. But this was the one that was released or shown off here. Kirby Air Riders coming out later in 2025 for the Nintendo Switch 2. Looks like it's going to be fun. I've never played it, so I don't know, but Kirby games are always fun, so I'm excited to see what happens there. The one that's the most obscure is Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Is an exclusive title for Switch 2. Most people thought it was going to be a free game. I thought it was going to be a free game. It's basically an interactive way to learn more about the console, and it apparently has some like gameplay experiences, almost like 1-2 Switch, which was also a paid game that was crazy and stuff. But like trying to show off the stuff that this system can do. But it's going to be a paid digital title. And I believe it is coming out on launch day, which is great, but there's no idea of what the price of this thing is going to be. And I fully believe if this game is anything more than $10, it's not worth it. Unless there is like something crazy with it. Like if there's some really cool mini games that really get you involved, I don't know how you sell a game called Welcome Tour that shows you off things about your console for money. It just doesn't make sense. Insane to me. The Drag X Drive, a 3-on-3 like wheelchair basketball game. That's the way I'm going to describe it. Looked fun. It's really weird because you're going to be doing the new mouse controls, which maybe now that I'm talking about that out loud, maybe the sensors do actually work. I don't know how much it'll work, but like you have to like use the Joy-Cons to move the wheelchair forward and then shoot and stuff. So we'll see how it goes. But that did look really fun. I won't lie. I was really excited for it. And then I was disappointed when they only said it's coming out this summer. Like, Nintendo, quit being cowards. Give me a release date for this. I won't lie. I really feel like I would pre-order this. I would buy this day one and play this because this looked fun. I feel like this is going to be the Nintendo Switch 2's ARMS. Like, it's the one to like really try to show off the new features of the game, and hopefully it does well. But like I feel like it's going to be too gimmicky to the point where people aren't going to really jive with it, because that was the issue with ARMS, where for those that played it, it was a really fun game. But the problem is because it used a lot of the motion stuff. The motion stuff didn't always quite work with ARMS, which made the game can be very frustrating to play, which is why I think it didn't sell as well as it probably could have. Then we also got an announcement that GameCube is coming to Nintendo Switch Online, so there's going to be some great games coming up. The first ones that are going to be there are Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, F-Zero GX, and then my favorite that I got really hyped for, which was Soul Calibur 2, which is the edition from the GameCube that also includes Link in there. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Then there was some games that they teased, Pokemon Coliseum, and some other Pokemon ones I can't remember. And then I think it was also Fire Emblem Radiance Dawn. So some really cool Nintendo GameCube games down the road that are coming to this. So that looked like a lot of fun. Also, we got to see that Elden Ring is coming to Nintendo Switch 2 in 2025. I called it. I did say that. I thought that was going to come. Was really excited about this. As I mentioned, we were going to talk about Koei Tecmo. A new Musou-style game called Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is coming. Of course, this is a follow-up of Age of Calamity, but it is a new entry that serves as the prequel to Tears of the Kingdom. Looked awesome, and that's coming out this winter. Deltarune is going to be launching on Nintendo Switch 2, and they announced that there are the new chapters. So chapters 1, 2, and then the new 3 and 4 are all coming, and they're releasing on day one with June 5th for the Nintendo Switch 2, which is really awesome. Great lineup there. Hades 2 is coming for the Switch and Switch 2. Of course, not surprised. Hades 1 did the same thing, but that's going to be coming out in 2025 for Switch and Switch 2, so we'll see that. Then there was a host of games that got shown off that are coming to the Switch 2. third-party support. So we're going to go down the list here real quick. That is EA Sports Madden NFL, EA Sports FC, NBA 2K, WWE 2K, Split Fiction, Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, Street Fighter 6, Sid Meier's Civilization 7, Hogwarts Legacy, Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster, which I got excited for. That is a DS game or 3DS game that is now coming to Switch 2. Curious on how that's going to work. Also got Borderlands 4, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, Fortnite, Enter the Gungeon 2, Hitman World of Assassination Signature Edition, Project 007, Starseeker Astroneer's Expeditions. I'm saying that probably wrong. Daemon X Machina, Titanic Scion. I'm excited for that one. Survival Kids, Star Wars Outlaws, Silk Song. Still says 2025. We'll see. Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, also coming. Fantastic game. Please play that one. And Reanimal all got shown off. And then the one that got a lot of people hyped. I'm still hyped for it. But From Software has a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive called The Duskbloods. Now, do keep in mind, this is a PvPvE multiplayer action game. Already kind of been announced. It's going to be 8 people fighting together. So we'll see how it goes. Some people thought this was Bloodborne sequel. I wouldn't say it is that. But we'll see. We'll find out more. That's coming out next year, though, in 2026. However, we are getting a developer diary series with Hidetaka Miyazaki. I keep wanting to say that wrong. So Hidetaka Miyazaki, we're getting a developer dive from him starting on Friday, April 4th. So we'll probably find out some more about this game and how it looks or how it works, if it's going to be more multiplayer focused like Elden Ring Night Rain, or if it's going to be more complemented by multiplayer a la like the other Souls games. We'll see. But looked fantastic. I got really hyped by this trailer. We'll see how it goes. And that's kind of in a nutshell all the things that happened there. I should have started off with this because I didn't think it was going to take me as long, but I'm going to just say it's like I thought this was fantastic. There are some weird Nintendo decisions. Again, the Welcome Tour game being a selling price was strange. They did announce that with the Switch 2, locally, you can share games with friends. You can share up to 3 games with up to 3 other consoles, which is going to allow, like, if there's a multiplayer game and your friends don't own it, but you all are next to each other, you can share that game with them and all play together. That's really, really cool. That was a great Nintendo decision. These games were hyped, though, and the components that they kind of showed off seemed so awesome. Pricing-wise, again, not totally surprised by it. Does suck a little bit because, again, I thought $399 just felt like a really good price, but I'm not surprised by $450. But again, the Mario Kart price, crazy, insane. Doesn't make sense. We'll see how it goes. But again, I still think that tariffs have something to do with that. So we'll see. But that's kind of, I guess, the main thoughts and components on it. I had a really great time with the showcase. It got me really excited. I'm going to be picking it up on day one. I wonder if you guys are going to be picking it up on day one. I did see in the chat, shout out to Andrew AT15 saying, think I'm going to wait till I buy it and see how it goes first, which totally makes sense. If you do not feel there is enough there to make you jump on the Switch 2, then totally makes sense. I actually was being asked this by my wife because her friend asked her, should I get the Switch or should I wait for the Switch 2? And I said, as someone who doesn't own a Switch, just wait for the Switch 2. Yes, it is more expensive than what you would be buying for a Switch, but then you future-proof yourself. You have the back catalog of Switch games that you can also play, and then you now have yourself ready for any future games, and you get the advantage of the power enhancements that the Switch 2 brings. Again, the Switch 1 released in 2017. technology has come a long way in that time frame. Maybe not as far as, of course, back in the day when things were just rapidly changing so quickly, but still, this is going to have a lot better performance, so you need to, I would just wait in that regard. Now, I do want to just give one caveat. There are a number of Switch games that currently have some sort of issue, whether it is an issue during the game or a startup issue. Nintendo has a full list of those games. It's a lot more than I originally thought, but of course, it's still not a ton, and all of them are being investigated as they labeled them at the moment. So that means, in my mind, some of those, maybe not all of them, will be fixed by the time the Switch 2 launches, but we'll see how that goes. But while I said all that, if you already own the Switch, then you got to feel like you either use the Switch enough that you want the extra power, or B, have a strong desire, like something that is saying to you, yes, you need to get it. And for me, one of those things is Mario Kart World. I am a huge Mario Kart fan. I know I'm going to get sucked into this. I know I'm going to play a ton of that. That is a Switch 2 exclusive. That is a system seller for me. That is something that gets me on board, that then gets me ready for future games, including like Demon X Monica Titanic Scion. Like, I was super excited for that announcement. I got really hyped by it. And there's some other games, too, on that list. Like I said, the Bravely Default remaster has me excited as well. But Donkey Kong Bonanza, also on that list. And then, of course, I know it's next year, but the Dusk Bloods, the Dusk Bloods game, also something that got me really excited. And Drag X Drive. Like I said, sounds weird, but I was super, super over the moon for that one. I thought that was really great. Totally get it in that regard. Also, want to give a shout out to Niall Sings for joining us here on the recording. Also confirming what I was talking about earlier is that the Nintendo Switch 2 physical games, some of them will have a digital code, but not all of them. So that should make you, those that were weary, be less weary about buying the physical games, because you still will have that chance, or not that chance, you will still have the ability to know for some games that you will have the full game on your cartridge. But obviously, read the box. They already, again, Nintendo confirmed that it will have on the box, if it is a game key card, that is the one that is going to, again, the cartridge is just a game key, and you're going to have to download the game. If it has that disclaimer on there, that means that. If it doesn't have it on there, that means it is the full game is on the cartridge. So you don't need to worry about that. You would just, of course, like normal, be downloading any kind of day one updates. But again, let me know in the chat, guys, what you thought of these before we wrap things up here. Just want to give, of course, Kairu again, very active in the chat today. Let's just look at his last two messages here. I think with Smash, just upgrade it and get it to the 120 FPS, and think that's all you need for Smash. Think Ultimate has every character already as it is, and is extremely as good as it could get. Now, there's a chance, stopping there, there's a chance that Smash Ultimate does get a performance boost from the Switch 2. I do not recall off the top of my head, but they did show like basically like a title card with a bunch of game titles on there of games that do get a performance boost from being on Switch 2. And I don't recall if Smash is on there, but Smash might be one of those. And so then it might not get to 120 FPS, but maybe it does get a performance boost that it still works out. Now, there's always that design flaw that could come into place where it's like, depends on how the game was designed. If the game was designed with 60 FPS in mind, there is some issues that could happen if you push beyond that with the 120 FPS, knowing that it's a fighting game in a sense. But if the coding was done right, which I would assume Sakurai and the team would do so, that should not be an issue. And then going to the next message, how many Joy-Cons will need to be replaced because of the mouse function? Also, the magnets instead of the side click is rumored to have fixed the drift issue, had something to do with sliding in. That would be great to know. There's also, there was no confirmation, but there's also these like gyro sticks. I can't remember exactly what the actual term for it, but they have less stick drift issues. So there's a chance something like that is in there. We'll see. I don't know how the mouse function will impact the Joy-Cons in the long run, but again, you would think that there was enough testing done to help avoid those issues, but you never know because there was a lot of stick drift issues on the Nintendo Switch. I never had those issues. I'm still rocking my original Nintendo Switch, but admittedly, I don't play my Switch too much in handheld. I mostly am docking it, so I think that also helps saves it. And Niall says here, I think I'm going to wait to learn what the online for Mario Kart World is like before I know for sure. We might know that from the upcoming Mario Kart World Direct. That is correct. You also might know it here this week, Niles, because Nintendo did confirm earlier, as I had mentioned during the stream, if you did check it out, and if you hadn't, go check it out over on youtube.com/@PressStart28. Nintendo Treehouse is coming back, which is where Nintendo used to do deep dives into various games. It's coming back for tomorrow, April 3rd, as well as on Friday, April 4th. They're doing a big stretch deep dive into a number of games. Now, tomorrow's showcase on April 3rd is 4 hours long, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific Time. It's lasting for 4 hours. Tons of games being shown off there, including, I think, tomorrow. Well, maybe they haven't announced what the actual schedule is, but Mario Kart World is going to be a part of this. Again, tomorrow's is 4 hours long. Friday's is 3 hours long, but there is a ton of deep dives into these games, so we may actually have the answer this week. You may not have to wait long, Niles. You might get all your answers come true this week. But yes, I've been talking for a long time here on the podcast, and so I'm going to be wrapping it up here. I want to thank everybody for joining me here on the return of the One More Game podcast. Again, it has been nearly 2 years long removed, and seeing the joys of you guys coming out here and being a part of this has been a lot of fun. And again, we're going to be getting back to this more and more. I'm not ready to fully commit to once a week like we did before, but that is the goal. That is the plan, is to try to get back to once a week. But right now, we're just going to say when the next episode drops. Normally, this is the time of the episode where I would tell you about upcoming games that are coming out here, and I would do a big deep dive on all the games coming out in the next week. But I did not do that deep dive at this moment. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what games are coming out from GameInformer.com. Let's give a little clap and round of applause, to Game Informer coming back from the graves. This is who I always used when it came to gathering my games list. Them and a couple of other sites, but I'm glad that they're back. So let's look at the games that they have listed coming up, releasing, and we will start with, let's look here. We're going to start with tomorrow, April 3rd, and we'll run it all the way through to April 11th. So what do we got here? We got tomorrow, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered coming out on PC. On April 8th, we have South of Midnight coming to Xbox Series as well as PC. That is coming to Game Pass as well. We have Tiny Garden coming out for Switch and PC on April 8th. On April 9th, we have Duck Detective: The Secret Salami coming out for iOS and Android. Don't know what the heck that is, but that sounds interesting. On April 10th, we have Blueprints coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. I believe Blueprints is also coming out on Game Pass. And looking at the thumbnail there, yeah, I believe that is the other game that's coming to Game Pass. Also on April 10th, we have Crashlands 2 for PC, iOS, and Android. Also, Monster Energy Supercross 25 for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. Promise Mascot Agency coming out for PlayStation 5, Xbox, PlayStation, Xbox One, and PC. Also, want to give a shout out to Shuhei Yoshida, who is a voice actor in Promise Mascot Agency. You're playing as a Yakuza who basically has turned into a maid. Looks like a lot of fun. Go check it out. There is a demo that you could currently play right now if you are interested. Also on April 10th, you have Star Overdrive coming out for Switch. That game was shown off at the most recent Nintendo Direct last week. I shouldn't say most recent. The Nintendo Direct last week looked like a lot of fun. And also coming out on April 10th is the Talos Principle Reawaken for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. So that's all that's coming out over the next week. Hopefully, there is some games there that you are looking at getting and picking up. I, myself, am looking at least to try and dive into South of Midnight on Game Pass. Obviously, having Game Pass allows me to check that one out. So I'm interested in seeing how that one looks and reviews. I think reviews for that drop tomorrow, or at least the embargo drops tomorrow. So we might be seeing some reviews drop here on April 3rd. So keep an eye out for those. And then because, again, it's coming to Game Pass, I might try out that Blueprints. It's supposed to be a puzzle-like game. Looks kind of interesting. And I've heard some really, really great things from it in previews. So, but with that being said, that's all that we have here for the One More Game podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in here to the One More Game podcast. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe if your podcast allows it. Leave a 5-star review and tell everyone why you love the One More Game podcast, because we want to continue bringing this back to you guys each and every time we can. Again, I don't want to say once a week because I can't commit to that just yet, but hopefully that comes very soon. But as always, everybody, I'm going to sign off like I normally do on my stream, so hopefully you guys come join me over there as well. But stay hydrated, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep on gaming. We'll see you all on the next episode of the One More Game podcast. But until then, enjoy yourselves.